Today, we're going to look at prayer not just as a spiritual discipline, but also as something that has measurable effects on our mental health. Both theology and psychology agree on one thing: prayer matters, and the way we pray shapes what kind of impact it has on our well-being. Let's ask the question, why do we pray? Prayer has always been understood as communication with God. For many, it is a source of comfort, strength, and hope. But research has started to explore this more carefully, asking, does prayer actually improve our mental health? There have been some studies looking into this, and research involving measuring clinical prayer interventions helps guide us with the value of prayer. Bolins and colleagues, 2009, conducted a clinical study where participants with depression and anxiety received weekly prayer sessions. The results were striking. Symptoms of depression and anxiety decreased significantly. What actually happened? Participants also experienced greater optimism and peace. Even 1 month after the prayer sessions ended, the benefits remained. The researchers suggested that prayer helps reframe painful memories, promotes forgiveness, and even reshapes thought patterns in the brain. What does this mean? This tells us prayer can act as a therapeutic intervention that brings healing and lasting relief. We can also look at a second question: does how we pray matter? There are studies that are worth exploring. Jepson and colleagues, 2015, looked not at structured prayer sessions, but at everyday prayer life. They found that the type of prayer someone uses makes a big difference. The purpose and methodology of prayer makes a difference. One type of prayer is colloquial prayer. Colloquial prayer, talking to God in your own words, was strongly linked to better mental health. There seems to be a level of personal connection with the divine with this prayer type. A second type is meditative prayer. Meditative prayer, listening quietly, reflecting, resting in God's presence, also showed positive effects. This can be done across many different religious traditions. Both forms worked by creating a sense of closeness to God, which gave people the same benefits we see from social support. But not all prayer had the same effect. When people use petitionary prayer, then they do not have the same level of benefit. Petitionary prayer, asking God for things, showed mixed results. It sometimes helped by creating trust in God's control, but it also had negative associations when prayers felt unanswered. The lesson: prayer that deepens relationship and closeness to God is the kind of prayer that heals. We can draw the clinical conclusion: there is a need to pray. When we put these two studies together, we see a powerful message. Prayer isn't just a ritual, it's a lifeline. Structured prayer interventions show us that prayer brings real, measurable healing to those suffering from depression and anxiety. Everyday relational prayer shows us that prayer fosters closeness to God, which in turn provides strength, comfort, and resilience. To put it simply, we need to pray. Prayer is not only a spiritual duty, it is a practice that restores the mind, heals the heart, and anchors the soul. Finally, let's ask what the practical takeaways are for daily life. Make space for colloquial prayer. Talk to God honestly in your own words. Practice meditative prayer. Learn to listen, not just speak. When you offer petitionary prayer, hold it with trust, knowing God's timing may be different from yours. Consider prayer not as a last resort, but as a first response, a tool that strengthens both your faith and your mental health. Prayer is more than words. It is a relationship, a therapy, and a pathway to peace. The science supports what faith has long proclaimed. When we pray, we change, not only spiritually, but emotionally and mentally. So I leave you with this thought: don't neglect prayer. We need it for our souls and for our minds.